And normally about that time, you would hear Tony Schiavone say, "Welcome to Monday Nitro." One of your favorite announcers and mine for all the true wrestling fans out there. Guys, I've loved wrestling since I was a kid, and it's Q the Conversation. A conversation with Q, and we're going to talk like it's just me and you. And I'm here for an episode of Wrestling Wednesdays. I want to talk about WCW 2000. The good, the bad, the real bad, the ugly, everything that happened with it. I think for us wrestling fans, it was a hard pill to swallow to watch Monday Nitro go from what it was to what it became. I was a WCW fan growing up. I mean, even the corny stuff, WCW Saturday nights. I made it through all of WCW, but even before that, I was a fan of NWA. For you younger guys, even younger guys that may not know, not the rap group, National Wrestling Alliance, with Sting and Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair and the original Four Horsemen, Arn and Tully and Ole, excuse me, and all those guys. So, being that I'm from down south, I saw that a lot more than I saw WWF, now WWE. For me, it will forever be WWF. But nonetheless, moving right along, I loved Monday Nitro when it came on. I thought it was pretty cool to see something like that finally blow up. Finally have the guys to really make something happen, and for WCW to get a little bit of shine. I think we saw a lot of the NWO gimmick from the very beginning, probably to the point where it ran its course, and then the idea was just rehashed over and over again, even with Bret Hart, Jeff Jarrett, throwing guys like that in the mix that didn't really fit. The main focus that I'm hitting on in this video is the WCW 2000, and I'm hitting right particularly on the whole New Blood versus Millionaires Club gimmick. I've rewatched this thing a few times. Now, you'll probably see through a couple of the thumbnails, I got one of Vince Russo in there. I particularly like Vince Russo. And I feel like I can make a case for Vince Russo. And I also want you guys' response in the comments. Hey, whether you think it's dumb, whether you think I'm right, whether you think I'm wrong, love it, hate it, all the same. I'm perfectly fine with it. It's the internet. I know everybody's going to have something to say, so cool. Anyway, if you look at that particular time period and you really watch those episodes of Nitro with Russo and Bischoff, they were actually really good. And maybe I'm saying they're really good in comparison to the product today that I barely watch. But again, I'm thinking about WCW 2000. So put yourself in that mind frame if you're a wrestling fan. There was a real good standoff between all the New Blood members and all the Millionaire Club members, which had, you know, your Hulk Hogan's, your Lex Luger's, your Stings, Ric Flair's. I guess Kevin Nash was kind of in between on it. Scott Steiner kind of just being Scott Steiner doing his thing as well. And people can say whatever they want to say about Vince Russo. If you go back to WWE from the time the Attitude Era started, the story writing, the storylines, and everything was really good. Really good. Everybody from Stone Cold to The Undertaker, all the way down to Crash Holly, had some sort of storyline involved on that show. So basically my question is this is a Russo question for you guys that dislike Vince Russo. If he was so bad, then tell me where the storylines went after he left. You know, if this guy had all these checks and balances that he had to deal with and all these other things in WWF, if everybody else was so good at it, what happened to the storylines on Monday Night Raw after he left? Because if you guys remember, for a time period there, when Paul E had SmackDown, SmackDown was a better show than Raw. So with that being said, there can be a lot of things said about Vince Russo. But that New Blood Millionaires Club was actually pretty good. The way he had everything lined up, the way he made everybody believe, and the way he turned himself into a heel. And people say, oh, you know, he wanted to be on TV. Well, here's my thing. You can say the writer wants to be on TV, and that's all well and good, but isn't it a little bit more different when the owner himself wants to be on TV? See, nobody had a problem with Vince going on TV as the owner of the WWF, trying to get his product over. And Vince Russo being the writer down in WCW going on TV, trying to get the product over because he had to cover ground. He had to keep this thing afloat. So you can say you had a problem when he made himself the champ. Well, let's not forget, Vince did win a Royal Rumble, if I'm not mistaken. And Vince almost made himself, or if he did not make himself the champ at one period in time. So I'm not understanding how it's good for one guy and not good for the other guy. What I would like to do is at some point, maybe tonight, later tonight, I'm going to put this video up, and maybe later tonight we do a live, if I can get some people to tune in, you know, again, whether it's 5 or whether it's 20, get some people to tune in, and maybe we can have a discussion in the chat about the differences. Because again, guys, I'm a diehard wrestling fan up until a certain point, and then I just didn't care for it anymore just because it's not the same. It's not the same that we once had. But that's kind of my thoughts on the WCW 2000 thing. If you really look back on it now and you're comparing it to a lot of the product that we've had lately, it's not as bad as what they made it out to believe. And Vince Russo made himself a great heel. You know, you're in more or less of a Southern wrestling company. You got the Yankees jersey on. And guys, remember, if you know anything about Vince Russo, he's a Giants fan. So he just knew the Yankees fan, in which I am a diehard New York baseball Yankees fan. They're hated. And for the most part down south, we really don't care for New Yorkers. Don't ask how I'm a Yankees fan. It's a long story. Moving right along, Russo knew he had to put himself on TV at some point to get this thing over. So I say it's one thing to say the guy had some stupid ideas. Well, that's true. But we all can't come up with the gobbledygooker. All right? We all can't come up with a wrestler whose boots are made to look like hockey skates. You know, I tell you what, it's more... Judy Bagwell on a forklift match is a lot more interesting than Bastion Booger. So, again, you say what you want about Russo, but in comparison to some of the things that we saw, those early 90s WWF, at least it was more entertaining than that. So just keep some of these things in mind when you feel like this guy's to blame for everything and all that good stuff. I just feel like we can have some interesting points when it comes to discussing the ins and outs of WCW 2000, you know, from them turning Goldberg heel, you know, to Hogan coming back with the red and yellow, then, you know, doing the Hollywood thing again, and Scott Steiner being Scott Steiner, even moving right along to making one of the guys in this thumbnail, Jeff Jarrett, a champion who I was never really a big fan of Jeff Jarrett, but hey, his family's been around the business. Jerry Jarrett was pretty much a wrestling genius in his own sense. So I'm not going to knock Double J. I don't want to knock any of these guys because they brought a lot of entertainment to a lot of people, even moving on to making Booker T, who was well-deserved the heavyweight champion of the world, and Booker's still going on to be a star when he went to WWF. So just keep that in mind. I would love to do a live on this. I want to post this video and see if we can kind of get some traction and maybe get some wrestling fans to come in here and check this thing out. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you are a wrestling fan, keep these thoughts in mind. Keep them in mind to, you know, have a discussion on it. I'm open to having a discussion within the comments. I'm open to get some traction on my channel. I'm not asking for anything, a like or a subscribe. I want to do Wrestling Wednesdays as much as I can on Wednesdays, even if I have to do it maybe on a Wednesday morning. I work night shift, so unfortunately, I won't always be able to do it on a Wednesday night. With that being said, I hope everybody enjoys this small video. Keep some things in mind for the Russo haters. I'm sure we'll have a great conversation. For the WCW haters that may hate WCW and hated WCW all along, that's cool too. I want to include everybody. So whether you loved it, you hated it, you enjoyed WCW, come on over. Let's have the conversation. Let's really have some fun with this thing and see what we can come up with as far as a dope conversation to talk about the better days of wrestling, because I'm pretty sure most of the other days are gone right about now unless they really figure out how to do something. I'm trying to get into AEW and pay it some attention. If you guys got any comments on that, or you want to try to guide me in the right direction as to what to pay attention to on that, I'm open to hear it, because I don't want to say something's bad or good until I actually try to give it a chance. I've done it a million times with the newer WWE product, and it's just hard. You know, I feel like they had guys like Bray Wyatt that was a star, and they kind of shut it down. So if you guys have any ideas or suggestions on any of the newer product, by all means, let's talk about it in the comments. I hope to see you guys later. If I decide to do a live, I will drop the time and we will talk about it then. Until then, guys, y'all have a good one. Again, it's Q the conversation with Q. Let's get on this live and talk like it's just me and you. Thanks, guys.